Mat smartphone receiver and charging mat. Just enable your phone and drop in charge. PowerMat. Stay in charge. Visit stayincharge.powermat.com.
That goal is looking very bleak and could cost the nation hundreds of millions of dollars.
Fox News Radio's David Noto in Bogota, Colombia. Pope Benedict in Benin, Africa, blessing a crowd of 80,000 at the National Soccer Stadium. 500,000 people have converted to Catholicism in that country in the last decade. The Mass translated into at least 10 African languages. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News Radio.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast. Today, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 43, north winds 5 to 10. It'll stay partly cloudy tonight, a low of 31 with northeast winds 5 to 10. Still partly cloudy tomorrow with a high of 46, southeast winds 10 to 15. And then looking at Tuesday, a chance of some rain with a high of 44, and then back to partly cloudy skies on Wednesday with a high of 44. Keeping you informed, this is News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
I knew I was stuck at this kid's house for the night, but those guys snuck up on me to try and pull the hand in a bowl of warm water trick. Well, that was enough for me. I went downstairs to sleep in the basement, even though it was pitch black. I left my sleeping bag upstairs, and that was a mistake, because it was freezing. I think it was probably the longest night of my life. To read more about the sleepover, check out Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Last Straw by Jeff Kinney. Explore new worlds and check out more cool books at your local library, and visit read.gov. Brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
The Talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090 WKBZ.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hams in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dadgum.
Good morning, Muskegon. This is EyeOnMuskegon, and I'm Jim Riley here in Muskegon's Clear Channel studios with my friend and engineer, the legendary Oscar Osbo. And we welcome you in radio, computer, smartphone, and podcast land to EyeOnMuskegon. And as always, we are Muskegon County's #1 rated talk radio show that specializes in politics. That's local politics. And we're also a show that wants to put you on the air. So give us a call right now. Our phone number is 231-830-3109. As always, I want to remind you folks, you spend more money on state and local taxes than you do on federal taxes. So get a heads up. Let's learn about what's going on locally here, because that's something that you have an effect. You can change the amount of spending that's going on locally. You really don't have a big opportunity to change it on the national level that often. Today is November 20th, and as promised last week, we will finish our analysis of Muskegon's municipal elections of November 8th, and then we'll look into the crystal ball and see what's coming for next year, 2012. Lots of elections, lots of politicking going on. First, a clarification. I said that Albert Einstein had made the quote, "The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it." Well, that was close but no cigar, as I'm sure President Clinton would have suggested. In fact, it was the English philosopher Edmund Burke who said something similar, which is the quote, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." They essentially mean the same things, and we should all take that to heart. We need to be doing the right thing. Sitting home and grousing will get you nothing but indigestion and unhappiness. And we do need more reporters like the one who gave me the heads up in terms of my incorrect quote from the esteemed philosopher Edmund Burke. One thing I want to start out with, because I always forget about this, Oscar, but this Tuesday, 6 o'clock p.m. at Whitlow's, the Muskegon Tea Party will have their monthly meeting. Everyone is invited. At 6 o'clock, Tuesday, November 22nd, Whitlow's, which is out on Airline Road. If you'd like to have dinner, the group, a lot of the folks do show up between 5 and 5:30. Food is great and, frankly, very reasonably priced at Whitlow's. Mm-hmm. Congressman Huizenga's local representative, Greg Van Workum, will be our speaker for the evening, and it's an opportunity. Lots of stuff going on with spending on the national level, but a great opportunity to talk with Greg about what's going on at Congressman Huizenga's office. And there are some discussions, not in his office perhaps, but there are some discussions that another a person may decide to jump in the race, and we may have a primary for the congressional seat that represents us here.
You're jumping in?
That'd be interesting. They make a lot of money. No, I don't think I'll be doing that. It's the name that I've heard bandied about is a state, and I don't know if he's a state rep or a state senator, but David Agama from the Grand Rapids area. So that's a possibility. Now, I would mention, this is kind of an interesting aside. I've been involved with the Tea Party for the last couple of years, and we've had many speakers and visitors at the monthly meetings, including Senator Hansen, our local senator here, Representatives Holly Hughes, and Democrat Marcia Hovey-Wright. Congressman Heising has been a speaker there. Sheriff Rossler, another Democrat, has been a speaker at the group. But it's funny, we have 4 Republican county commissioners. I can appreciate that perhaps Democrat county commissioners don't want to show up at a Tea Party meeting, although they are most certainly welcome. But we do have 4 elected Republicans at the county commission level. And only one of them, Commissioner Alan Jagger, has attended our meetings and been there to answer questions to the folks who are arguably the most active and interested on the conservative side within our county. So Commissioners Bob Skolnick, Commissioner Marv Engel, and Commissioner John Snyder, you haven't yet found the time to speak to those of us who are concerned with the terrible state of our county's finances. You are welcome to attend, and you are most certainly welcome to speak with us. And by the way, all of the county commissioners and the senior executives, if you will, at the county level have been invited to appear on our show, Eye on Muskegon. So I'll give that invite again in case they forgot.
You can always invite Bob on Facebook, too. He loves Facebook.
Well, actually, Bob defriended me on Facebook.
I probably have been defriended now, too, just by being associated with you.
My communication there has been stomped on, but... That's a nice thought, though. A very generous thought. You didn't know that. That was not a setup, by the way. Before we get into the analysis of the local elections, something that just caught my attention, and it really bothered me. One of the reasons I've told other people is that we need to elect more Republicans, certainly at the national levels, is the media will just go all over them. And I think correctly so. When the Republicans screwed the pooch in the last years of the Bush administration, actually for most of the years of the Bush administration in terms of spending and other things, the media was all over them, as well they should be.
Right.
They seem to be really hands-off, in particular with President Obama. And just within the last couple of days, President Obama sent a personal letter of condolence to the late rapper Heavy D. I'm not familiar with Heavy D, but apparently someone on Obama's staff is. He passed away, and he sent a personal letter to the funeral, which was read out loud at the service by none other than the wonderful, brilliant Reverend Al Sharpton.
Of course.
Now, I don't have a real problem with that kind of thing. Presidents do that all the time. But it's very telling, and I would say really, truly disrespectful that he couldn't find it within himself to do the same for the family of the slain border guard, border agent Brian Terry, who died in the service of our country, and who was murdered, as we believe, by one of the guns that was involved in the Fast and Furious debacle, where the Attorney General, Eric Holter, allowed automatic weapons from the United States to be given to Mexican cartels and then just disappeared. So it would seem that if President Bush had given a heads up on a birthday or a funeral or whatever to a friend of his and had said nothing to a fallen soldier or a fallen defender of our country, I'm pretty sure that the media would have been all over it. And I think it's really sad, and I think it's very telling that the media entirely missed this. This was from what would be attributed to be a right-wing site, The American Thinker, where I got this information. You're not likely to hear it on Katie Couric or the Today Show.
Okay. No, so you know for sure that he never sent anything to... Because, I mean,
Yeah, I do. Matter of fact, the family of the slain agent had complained about that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, at least at this point, after the fact, maybe if it gets... Maybe I'm sure that the president's listeners are listening right now, so they'll be all over it. Okay, let's get back to the. I'm going to do a review of the election of November 8th, and much of it we already know. We know that longtime Muskegon City Commissioner Clara Shepard lost, and I'd attribute part of that to the Chronicle's reportage of some of her deeds, I guess we'd call them. Muskegon Heights Mayor Darrell Page won, and I think that is of interest in good measure because, let's face it, the Heights is in serious trouble, and so is Muskegon to a lesser so. But in Muskegon, you have 3 of the 7 commissioners are going to be new commissioners. And I think that shows that the people in Muskegon are looking for a new direction. Now, the question is, what is that direction? The business plan of most of the cities within our county has been to hire more grant writers and get more free money from someone else, as opposed to taking care of their own spending, looking at how they're spending, reducing costs, and making their communities more attractive to business and people. Time will tell, but I do think it's a good sign that we have 3 new people on the Muskegon Heights, or the City of Muskegon City Commission. And Muskegon Heights also brought in, they reelected an incumbent on their city council, but also 2 newcomers. So I think that there's a feeling that perhaps not hope and change any longer, but at least change is necessary. The same old thing is not doing us well, certainly not doing us nationally, and locally, same situation.
Right. We
have a newcomer in Roosevelt Park, Amber Cahill. Amber had run for county commission a few years back. She's a relatively new mom and newly married, very smart young woman. I think she and there's a few other people on that Roosevelt Park city council that may shake it up, which I believe it definitely does need shaking up. And there's another person of note. I've not met this woman, Patricia McKibben, and incumbent Chuck Woods were elected to the North Muskegon City Council. I'm hearing some very good things about Mrs. McKibben, and I would hope that we can get a little shake-up going there. Now, there's one disappointment to me on the Muskegon School Board, and I've had complaints about the Muskegon Chronicle's, what I would call very lame questions, and they're responding very blandly to very bland answers. But in the Chronicle, they mentioned, this is the Muskegon School Board, a woman named Deborah Brazil Griffin had suggested, and I'll read from the Chronicle's article, said the school board needed to be more aggressive about hearings, citizens' expectations for the district. She proposed kitchen table forums led by board members to find out why parents are leaving the district and what it would take to get them back. Griffin also proposed using data collected from district residents, students, and teachers to drive and justify board decisions on budget and program cuts or changes. Now, that sounds to me, if obviously there's going to be more to this woman than just that phrase, but that sounds to me like someone I'd like to vote for. And unfortunately, she did not win. Now, she did get the Chronicle's endorsement, but maybe it's the case that it's just the prettiest, the most popular, the junior high style elections going on in some of our communities. But Muskegon School Board could certainly use someone who wanted to bring parents in and who wanted to take a look at spending, program cuts, budget, things of that sort.
Find out what the people think?
Find out what the people think. What a concept. What a concept.
What a concept.
And I think I'd vote for Oscar right now in a minute. We don't hear that very often, do we?
Are you still on Facebook with the Chronicle or no?
They have yet. Have yet to.
That's good. That's good.
To defriend me. But let's just talking about the Chronicle. I have noticed, and I don't know for sure. I actually bought a paper version of the Chronicle earlier this week and did my own little analysis, and it was inconclusive. But it seems to me that the Muskegon Chronicle is putting less of their articles that are in the Dead Tree version on MLive. It's either that or they're just putting less articles on MLive, local articles that have to do with Muskegon County and West Michigan in particular. And we know that MLive is taking over. The Chronicles and all the rest of the Booth newspapers is going to be moving to the electronic format from the Dead Tree version over time. And I would imagine at some point they'll probably stop publishing a paper version. But they must make money. The model of selling advertisements advertisements online just doesn't seem to be working. And the way that I'd be happy to pay to access MLive, but the way to get people to pay you for a product is to make the product better.
Right.
And I certainly hope that they are not shrinking because they've been shrinking the reporters. I hope they're not shrinking the content. I sent a letter to the Chronicle, golly, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's hard to say. But asking them why they were giving away their product online. That's the prime reason I stopped getting the Chronicle, was that they were giving it away for free.
Right.
And it's interesting that the number one newspaper in the United States today is the Wall Street Journal. They don't give it away for free. There was another local newspaper in New Jersey, I believe it was, that had the same model, where you could buy the newspaper. If you wanted to get it online, you had to pay. It makes perfect sense. I believe that the Observer or the White Lake Beacon? It used to be the Observer, the White Lake Beacon, which has two. I think they handle the Oceana County also.
Right.
They have a very nice online site, but you only get the headlines. So if you want to get the newspaper, if you want to find out what's going on, you got to pay for it.
Right.
It isn't exorbitant. So I certainly hope that the Chronicle is able to figure this out, or the Booth people, or the MLive people, because it is very, very important. But I would like to ask or suggest some questions that the Chronicle would start asking when we get into election season, which is going to really happen right after the first of the year. And I touched on this a little bit last week, but I'm going to go again. Why not? Here's some questions I would strongly recommend. What are the top 3 problems facing your district, or your whatever level you're looking to get elected to? Is it possible to fix those at the local level? In other words, is there something that you can do at the city council, the county commission? Can you fix it locally? How would you accomplish these priorities? Again, it's real easy to say, I'd like to have a downtown convention center. I'd like to have high-speed rail. I'd like to, bring cruise ships in, which was a big deal in the Chronicle this week. Okay, how's that going to happen? As by the way, and I'd love to have cruise ships coming into Muskegon, but as someone who's been on many cruises, the real joy of the cruise is when you get off and do the things locally. And I'm sorry, but a cruise ship that stopped in Muskegon once would never come back, just simply because of what's there. They're not to say they're not wonderful things in the county, but we're not a cruise ship port. And
we could be, though.
Well, we could be, and then the question would be, is how would you accomplish that?
Right.
All right. Another question could be, how many council meetings have you attended, or school board meetings have you attended in the last 52 weeks? Do you know where the money would come from to pay for your ideas? What evidence do you have that your idea might succeed? Has it been tried in other places? What other ideas or initiatives have you supported in the past? Have they worked out? How have they worked out? These are, I'm not the smartest guy in town, but these are just normal questions that people might want to ask and get cogent answers to. I do know that it seems odd to me, as someone who's been going to the county commission meetings for a long time, that we have county commissioners who I see for the first time in my life at the swearing in. I'm sure the same thing is at the school board level,
right,
and at the county commission level, or at the city council level. So we need help from our news media. We here are the alternative media. We will try to do our best, and we're going to try to push those wonderful folks at the Muskegon Chronicle and MLive to ask better questions and get better answers and get us better leaders. We'll be back, folks. I got that wonderful music in my ear. We will be back to continue our talk about what's going to happen in 2012.
Don't you love me sometime?
This fall, Warren Miller's Like There's No Tomorrow will bring you on a global tour of the perfect winter. Adjust your gear, take a deep breath, and shred, launch, spin, charge like there's no tomorrow. Get wound up for the first snowfall with amazing footage of the world's top snow riding talent, including Colby West, Seth Westcott, Johnny Mosley, Julia Mancuso, Darren Rawls, Chris Davenport, and more. India, Alaska, Utah, Chile, New Zealand, Norway, it's all here. So get out there and buy tickets like there's no tomorrow, because tickets are on sale now. Check WarrenMiller.com for details.
You know it's the official start of winter when MC Sports presents Warren Miller's latest ski adventure film, Like There's No Tomorrow. Saturday, November 26th at the Frauenthal Center. Everyone attending this show will receive free stuff from Michigan's premier resorts, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win ski trips, season passes, and more. Don't miss Warren Miller's Like There's No Tomorrow, Saturday, November 26th at the Frauenthal Center. Brought to you by MC Sports.
I'm sure you're thinking, boy, I'd like to pay less for my car insurance, but switching seems like a lot of work. All the hassle and whatnot. Well, I'm here to tell you that is simply not the case. Geico makes it so easy to switch and start saving money straight away, without getting buried in a ton of paperwork. You know, that actually happened to me once. Literally, I was buried under my income taxes for 6 days. Haunting, really.
For a free rate quote, visit geico.com. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It sold out in 10 minutes, was seen by millions, and became the biggest live music event in radio history.
I would have given anything a few years ago to see a show like this.
Now it's your turn to watch. Catch the VH1 premiere of the iHeartRadio Music Festival. Lady Gaga, Coldplay, Kenny Chesney, The Black Eyed Peas, Steven Tyler, Jennifer Lopez, Carrie Underwood, Jane's Addiction, Nicki Minaj, one-of-a-kind collaborations from Sting and Jeff Beck, and more. The 2-hour special premieres Wednesday, November 23rd at 10/9 Central on VH1.
I knew I had a problem.
Eating and eating.
I felt so alone.
We understand. We're Overeaters Anonymous, and we have helped thousands of people just like you. Start living the life you deserve. Find us on the web at oa.org.
News Talk 1090 is the talk of Muskegon.
Was seen by millions and became the biggest live music event in radio history.
I would have given anything a few years ago to see a show like this.
Now it's your...
The Talk in Muskegon program can now be heard live every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on News Talk 1090. This is John Van White.
And Brian Worsham. We will focus on community events, news, weather, and sports. We'll also bring you traffic updates, weekly segments like the movies with Ron Van Timmeren, the Biker Report, and Lumberjacks. This is Talk in Muskegon, right here, 8 to 9 a.m. on the Talk of Muskegon, News Talk 1090.
Sirens, jet engines, car horns, leaf blowers. Today's world puts our sense of hearing on overload. Luckily, there are places we can go to refocus our senses. Our national wildlife refuges. It's amazing how much more you'll hear when you just take a minute to listen. Like a stirring chorus of songbirds warbling in the treetops. Or the industrious beaver slapping its tail in the mountain pond over baritone bullfrogs. Or the pulsating beat of a pileated woodpecker looking for a meal. When you hear these things, you're hearing the world the way we found it. With over 500 refuges across America, you don't have to go far to make a special connection with nature. Learn more at fws.gov/refuges. That's fws.gov/refuges.
I can solve difficult problems for a Fortune 500 company.
I can run a successful business.
I can manage your home improvements.
I can publicize your message.
I can motivate your audience.
I can put my military experience to work for your company.
I can teach your children.
I can boost your bottom line.
I can add value to your workplace.
I could be a loyal and productive employee.
But I can't put my skills to work for your organization
if I'm not given the opportunity.
If you don't recognize my talents and ability.
If you don't hire me.
If you don't have an open mind and a workplace that's open to everyone.
If you don't realize that America works best when everybody works.
What can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
You can remember that it worked.
It's what people can do.
It's what people can do that matters.
Nearly 50 million Americans have disabilities. Capitalize on their talents with employment practices that benefit everyone. Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Clutching the envelope tightly, I stepped onto the ladder at the bottom of the treehouse. Something caught my eye above me and I looked up. Light! It looked as if there were a firework display going on inside the treehouse. Crackling and snapping and whizzing sounds spun around above my head. Light shot out in sparks, dancing to the popping of noise. And then I looked up and saw... To find out what happens next, read Philippa Fisher's Fairy Godsister by Liz Kessler. Explore new worlds and check out more cool books at your local library. And visit read.gov, brought to you by the library.
Car number 7 is pulling into the pit.
What's my winning diabetes plan?
Start taking action now for diabetes.
Medications.
Got them. And my insulin supplies.
Exercise.
Most days.
Blood sugar level on target.
Diet. Eating healthy.
A1C under control.
Managing diabetes, including controlling blood sugar, is a team effort that requires a plan that's right for you. For more information, visit standfordiabetes.org.
A public service of TCOYD made possible with support from Sanofi Aventis US.
Hi, my name's Bob. Hi, Bob. I see this ad on TV. Says I can reduce my debt by 50%. I call. They told me to stop paying my bills, stop talking to my creditors. They'd take care of everything.
I gave them thousands, but most of it went to their fees.
Getting out of debt is neither quick nor easy. There are those who will tell you anything to win your trust.
I'm more in debt now because the fees and interest on my cards kept piling up.
Talk to your creditors directly, or to find a nonprofit agency near you, visit debtadvice.org.
And but you know, it's empowering. As I gave the story last week of Honey Bunch who made a call to her county or to her city councilman for the first time. That's what they're there for. They are there to help us, not just to vote. But what are we going to look for in 2012? Well, we're going to expect to see more ballot proposals and more local proposals, I would think. That we know that the city of Muskegon, or the county of Muskegon, is looking to build a new jail. We know that perfect example is the Eggleston Fire Barn. We're probably going to see some of these proposals that are much more expensive first time around, and then the Chronicle will say, oh my golly, they've sharpened their pencils and they're really doing the right thing. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that type of thing. Be extra alert when the election is on the off dates, if it's not a November election. Let me see, I thought I had it here. We're going to have a February election, May, and June, July, and August would be the cycles this year. So be extra alert, because those elections are put in place primarily to keep you from voting.
Right.
Now, the February 28th election, which will be the only item on that particular election so far, and it may change, but is the Republican primary. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that, the Republican primary for the President of the United States. There will also be, in August, another statewide primary that will encompass every other elected official that comes along in that cycle. That would include judges and county commissioners and the rest. That's a primary. But the more important one, or at least the nearest one to us, is going to be February 28th. And there's been a lot of discussion about that, in that the Republicans, since the Democrats will not have a primary, the Republicans had a variety of choices. They could have had a closed primary, an open primary, caucuses, or county conventions, or perhaps some other situation. But the Republican leadership, in the face of almost universal disagreement with the local state Republican leadership, decided to have what's called a closed primary. Now, as a practical matter, a closed primary is identical to an open primary, which simply means when you walk in to vote, you say, give me the ballot, which in this case the only ballot will be for the Republican, and you can go vote. You don't sign up as a registered Republican. You just go in and you vote. Now, what that means is it invites crossovers from Democrats.
Right.
The Republicans were encouraged in the past by a variety of folks to cross over. It's perfectly legal, perfectly moral. Go do it. Republicans were encouraged to vote in Democrat primaries. But what this means is that the leadership in the state Republican Party has said, we don't mind having our private little club, which is the Republican Party, at least in terms of nominating. We don't mind having Democrats crossing over. And why would they want that? Well, simply because they believe Democrats would tend to vote for Governor Romney, which is who the leadership in the state of Michigan wants to support. Now, if that's right, that may be their view. It's really not, I don't believe it's not right. It's not what our leaders should do.
Right.
There's been some discussion that they would be beaten up by the media if they had caucuses or the state conventions, county conventions, But that's what the Democrats did in other similar years. So I don't think that, I know this, that the Tea Party Republicans and people who really care about who we're going to be nominating in the state of Michigan are upset with leadership, but that's what we have. So be prepared to vote. If you're a Democrat and you want to vote for Herman Cain or you want to vote for not George Romney, Mitt Romney, you can vote for them. I think it's wrong. I think it's a mistake. But that's what's happening in February of this year. Now, other items that we're going to be looking at coming down the pike. Governor Snyder has said that we don't have enough money to pay for our roads, and he's looking at putting an increased tax, what he calls, on the wholesale rate of fuel, which of course means that when you go to the gas station, it's going to cost you more money, but you're going to be angry at the gas station.
Right.
There's also the proposal, and we're going to see this. We're going to see this all over the state, I think, allowing counties to take over county road commissions and give county or regional authorities the power to approve local vehicle registration fees, quote, to support transportation. Now, I'm not for more taxes. I think I'd much prefer to see reduced compensation for some of the overpaid state employees. But when you use the term, we're going to go to regional authorities, that takes away the vote that you have, let's just say in our county, when you have the county commissioners who would make a vote in the case of, let's say, the jail, the new jail that's necessary, according to some, and it's going to be quite expensive. But once you go to this regional, so-called consolidation, unelected people will be making those decisions for you. So be aware of it. You may have an opportunity at some point to vote for these up or down, but you may not. It may be that your county commissioners will vote in a session attended by two people to pass the power over to what they call regional authorities to make those tough decisions.
And do they know the facts?
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, one of the county commissioners has stood up. I've heard him say it numerous times, and we have to educate the public. They don't understand the nuances. We're not capable of it. Well, it may be. These things are not simple answers, but if you're interested in educating the public, then you can articulate specifically to the Chronicle. And my experience with the Chronicle has been that when you do have someone who says specifically and explains why something has to be done, that they're more than willing to publish it. I've yet to see much of anyone out there, any of the 11, articulating why we need to spend more and do this when, in fact, we are still at $100 million in debt just for the unfunded promises to the county retirees. Another big race coming up. Now, this is going to happen in August, the August primary, the Senate race. Debbie Stabenow very likely will not have a challenge. Right now, he seems to be the leader. The big money Republicans, I would call them rhino-esque, but the big money Republicans in Grand Rapids are supporting another candidate, and then there's a few others out there. That's going to be a big race. I think the August primary will be a big race for Democrats to cross over also. I know if things were reversed, I'd recommend that Republicans do the same. The Senate race is not going to have a real primary challenge for Debbie Stabenow. There'll be unlikely, really tight races, primary races, challenges for the U.S. congressmen and women. And this would be a good opportunity, certainly, for Democrats to cross over and make their feeling known. If I was a Democrat, I'd vote for who I felt would be the weakest candidate to face their Democrat in their Democrat candidate in November. There are going to be some recalls coming up in 2012. Republicans are not happy that Representative Paul Scott was recalled. The MEA spent over $100,000 to recall him. Very heated, nasty election. We're going to see recalls, at least the latest I heard, of 3, 4, 5 Democrat representatives in the state of Michigan. Not here in Muskegon, but in other parts of the state. Be expensive, will be called nasty, I'm sure, by the media. They really weren't calling it too nasty when it was a Republican, but now it'll be excoriated by the media. But look for those; they will be popping up, and that will then. I think the good news is that maybe we'll have another real discussion about how we are spending our money on education. One thing I mentioned that I'd had a meeting with the Representative Marcia Hovey, right? And she mentioned some things that really I need to clarify. She told me, bingo, why are her people over protesting Republican Senator Hansen's at his town hall meeting? And she said that, well, because he voted to increase the taxes on retirees' pensions, increase the taxes on the poor because of his vote to reduce the earned income tax credit, and a few other items. But these are the two biggies. And the reason I bring these up is that I heard the same comments when I speak to the people at Occupy Muskegon. And I hear almost the same phraseology. And I'd like to clarify it a little bit. The bill that was passed in Michigan and signed by the governor to increase taxes, or to start taxing pensions, it actually it reduced certain levels. There were some numbers going, some income going on, and I think you're not taxed until you have $40,000 or so in pensions, which is very few people in the state of Michigan have pensions that pay them more than $40,000.
Right.
But what it really did was it allowed the state to finally start taxing the pensions on state employees, on teachers, and on other municipal employees. Everyone else who had a pension, if you worked for General Motors, you're retired from Microsoft, you're retired from, Joe's Plumbing, and you had a pension, you've been paying taxes on your pension checks, assuming you were at the high enough level, forever. But if you were a state employee, if you were a city employee, a county employee, a teacher, you were not. So to say that he's increasing the pension taxes on everyone is a flat-out lie. The reality is, it's not really a lie, because it's sort of true. But the reality is
sort of true.
It's sort of true. It's a sophistry. It's a half-truth.
Right.
A half-truth says, okay, yes, we're increasing the taxes. As a matter of fact, the tax rate, the deduction went from $90,000 to $40,000. But as a practical matter, the only people who are really going to feel it in any way were those people who had pensions above $40,000 a year. And interestingly, that's almost totally government employees. Very few people in the private sector have a pension that pays them more than $40,000 a year. But very, very many people who are retiring today in the public sector have pensions above that.
Right.
And it always seemed odd to me that you would have public employees who get their money from the state, who aren't, in fact, paying their fair share. They're not contributing in any way, shape, or form to state taxes, and yet now they're squealing like stuck pigs. So when you hear that little phraseology, those nasty Republicans increasing taxes on poor retirees' pensions, understand there's a little more to the story. There's another one, which is the increasing taxes on the poor because of the reduction in the earned income tax credit. And I'll make this kind of quick. The simple reality is that this earned income tax credit was shoved through by Jenny Granholm in 2009. It's a relatively new one. And almost no one who gets money from this actually has a reduction got a reduction in their taxes, or will now face an increase in their taxes because their tax rate was too low. It was welfare. It was crafted so that people would be getting checks from the state of Michigan, which, by the way, folks, we're broke, and we're trying now to crawl out. And it's measures like this, with, I believe, a strong governor and a strong state house and senate, that faced up to this issue and said, look, we've got to stop this extra welfare. So when they say they're increasing taxes on the poor, it's a half-truth, it's a half-lie, it's a sophistry. It's not true, folks. Earned income tax credit, you think about it, well, geez, I've earned income and I'm going to get a tax credit. That's not how it's worked. They used a term called refundable, which I'd not seen before, and I actually had to do some research to find out what it meant. And refundable means if you don't pay taxes anyway, we'll still give you a check. Folks, is that right? No, it isn't. Not when we're broke. It might be a nice thing to have happen to you. I'd like to get a free check, too. But it is not an increase in the taxes on the poor.
I want to work for the government.
Well, a lot of people do, and unfortunately, a lot of people wanted to have Bernie Madoff give them tremendous returns on safe investments too, and it worked out for a while. Same with the folks in Greece, Rhode Island, Mississippi, Pennsylvania. My music is coming back. We'll be back. We'll talk more about what's going to happen in 2012. And give you a little bit of a heads up on some of the more arcane issues that are a little under the radar. So stay tuned. Give us a call at the number I just forgot. It's 821. Oh my golly, help me here. Well, I'm just going to have to tell you when we start in a minute. See you soon.
And now the bonus round. If absence makes the heart grow fonder, what does presence make?
I want to say crab dip.
Correct. Finish this sequence. Tree, sky.
Transubstantiationalism.
Correct. What can you watch instantly with Netflix?
Unlimited TV episodes and movies.
Correct. Watch unlimited TV episodes and movies for only $8 a month from Netflix. See terms of use.
Ma'am, are you crying?
I cry when I'm happy.
Well, that makes two of us.
This fall, Warren Miller's Like There's No Tomorrow will bring you on a global tour of the perfect winter. Adjust your gear, take a deep breath, and shred, launch, spin, charge like there's no tomorrow. Get wound up for the first snowfall with amazing footage of the world's top snow riding talent, including Colby West, Seth Westcott, Johnny Mosley, Julia Mancuso, Darren Rawls, Chris Davenport, and more. India, Alaska, Utah, Chile, New Zealand, Norway, it's all here. So get out there and buy tickets like there's no tomorrow, because tickets are on sale now. Check WarrenMiller.com for details.
You know it's the official start of winter when MC Sports presents Warren Miller's latest ski adventure film, Like There's No Tomorrow. Saturday, November 26th at the Frauenthal Center. Everyone attending this show will receive free stuff from Michigan's premier resorts, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win ski trips, season passes, and more. Don't miss Warren Miller's Like There's No Tomorrow, Saturday, November 26th at the Frauenthal Center. Brought to you by MC Sports.
Fox News Radio, I'm Liz White. A day after many Libyans cheered his capture comes word that Muammar Gaddafi's son will be tried at home.
The National Transitional Council have decided that Saif al-Islam Gaddafi will go on trial in Libya. Remember, of course, there is an international arrest warrant issued a few months ago by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, for Saif al-Islam Gaddafi for crimes against humanity. That, of course, still stands.
Sky News reporter Lisa Holland in Libya. A second day of clashes in Cairo. 2 dead, hundreds hurt in ongoing demonstrations. Protesters demanding a date when the military will turn power over to an elected government. Evacuees returning home southwest of Reno, Nevada, where a wildfire fanned by gale force winds ravaged 32 homes. Firefighters finally got a handle on the bulk of the blaze last night. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast. Today, partly to mostly cloudy with a high of 43, north winds 5 to 10. It'll stay partly cloudy tonight, a low of 31 with northeast winds 5 to 10. Still partly cloudy tomorrow with a high of 46, southeast winds 10 to 15. And then looking at Tuesday, a chance of some rain with a high of 44, and then back to partly cloudy skies on Wednesday with a high of 44. Keeping you informed, this is News Talk 1090 WKBZ, the talk of Muskegon.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes.
We're back at EyeOnMuskegon. If you want your voice heard, give us a call. I got the phone number here, Oscar. It's 231-830-3109. And during the break, Oscar, you brought up a good question. Why don't you jump on that one?
Well, like I said, the only question I have is you said government needs to do all these different things with taxes, and because, you know, the governments aren't really taxed the way they should be, or the government workers. Is there going to be anybody out there that's actually going to do that? Are they actually going to tax their buddies?
Well, that's a tough thing.
And get away with it, you know?
Well, it is tough, and I know that when I go to the county commission meetings, and everyone knows that I'm a fiscal conservative, and as the sheriffs check me in, and everybody's very pleasant and fine, but I know that I'm not their best buddy.
Right.
It takes guts to stand up and say, look, I want to reduce the pay or the benefits of people that you have to work with all the time.
Have you seen anybody like that you know of?
Well, yeah, I have. I've seen Alan Jagger, County Commissioner Alan Jagger. I've seen a very rare person, and frankly, none at the top of my mind pop up in terms of locally. That's what the Tea Party movement is about. We need it. We want to provide support to those people who are willing to stand tall and take the flak, because it's easy and it's fun, as our county commissioners have proven time and again, to give free money to people. You've got the pictures of them handing over the plaque and how wonderful you've done this or that. It's fun. I mean, there was a movie or a TV show when you and I were younger called The Millionaire. I mean, how cool was that? It would have been really cool to be getting $1 million from somebody free, but it was equally cool to be the guy, and he was just a wonderful, warm person giving the money away. So it's a tough habit to break. The Republicans seem to be interested in the state of Michigan. Many of them, anyway, seem to be interested in making that fight, I believe, for the people. Democrats have taken a position. They support the unions. They support more employees. They support more benefits. It's not an evil position. I just don't believe it's a sustainable position, and that's the problem. The left loves to use the term sustainability. Well, fiscal and financial sustainability is as important as any other kind of sustainability. And we've got a caller. So go ahead, caller.
Yes, I'm calling you. I listen to you every week. I was at the county commission meeting.
Yes, I saw you.
Yes. I think that, this county here, for its infrastructure is the thing that needs to really be worked on. For one thing, there's large sections of Muskegon and Muskegon Heights where there isn't any sidewalks whatsoever. And, in Muskegon Township, there are 0 sidewalks. When you walk on Apple Avenue, you're walking on a highway, basically. That turns into M46.
Well, caller, hold on just a sec here, because I was at that county commission meeting, the transportation committee meeting that you attended, and just so other people know, this caller is a blind, I guess there's maybe a more politically correct term, but it's not easy for you to get out of your home and get on transportation and make it all the way up to the 4th floor. And I thought that you were extraordinarily well prepared. You had some very good statistics. You had mentioned earlier about how tough it is with the new system, with the MATS transportation, with the buses, where they've got the pickup spots now are quite considerably farther apart. But you have, well, let me just finish this point here. You have articulated a few points, I think, very, very well to the county commission. Have they or anyone in the county gotten back to you and said, hey, good idea, we're trying to fix these? What have you experienced?
Well, what I've experienced is I didn't give them my number to call me, or anything. Now,
did they ask?
No, they did not ask me, for my phone number or anything. I would have given that in a time that I could receive calls when I'm here, because I'm in and out and I'm quite busy during the week. But I would have loved to have talked with one of the commissioners about the fact that we need, the city, if Muskegon Township's not willing to do it, all right, in these municipalities, then the county, it's going to be up to the county to do this. I mean, if we're going to put these bus stops farther apart, there's got to be sidewalks, and that's going to mean also an underground storm sewer system.
Well, the problem with that is that there's no money to do it. The county is broke. There are easy ways to fix the bus stop situation. I was at an earlier meeting, I believe you were there too, and the easy way to fix that would have been just to go back in part to the old system, especially in places where there are no sidewalks, where the bus drivers would have the wherewithal and the authority to pick people up between bus stops. That's a free answer to a very serious problem for folks who are in wheelchairs and otherwise have a hard time walking around on plowed sidewalks or where there are no sidewalks, as you had said. And I think that I appreciate your call. I am saddened that someone like you is so fervent and takes the effort to go to the county commission meetings. You are a citizen. You bring up very reasonable points, many of which don't involve. We don't need to spend the millions of dollars in infrastructure to help someone like you out. But it appears that the people, the 11 county commissioners, have not done. They hear a citizen, and then they go on. They grab a coffee and a donut.
A donut.
Well, that's to me that's what it appears to me. There certainly doesn't appear to be anything done to fix things, especially when it can be fixed essentially for free. Now, I do want to go to one other thing just of what's going on for this next week. The county commission must have had a really rough week. They had 5 meetings in November. So we have a week and a half of no county commission board meetings this week coming up, and the first Tuesday of the following week. Well, when there is no meeting, I don't go. I do other things. I work on the yard or who knows what. Actually, I do a lot of show prep during that time. So I won't be at Carmen's in downtown Muskegon on the corner of Clay and Terrace until they meet again. And that will be on Thursday, December 1st, when the Ways and Means Committee meets again to spend more money that it doesn't have. And that's a big committee. They do a lot of spending there. I didn't get a chance this morning to check the agenda. Perhaps it's not even up since it's a week and a half away. But you can do that when you go to the Muskegon County site, and I do put the links on my website, EyeOnMuskegon.com. As I keep imploring, you must get involved. An easy way to get involved is to go to my blog, which is EyeOnMuskegon, EyeOnMuskegon.com. I've got links for Marcia Hovey-Wright, Holly Hughes, Jeff Hansen's telephone numbers and email addresses, and then links to the county commissioners and some Norton Shores links and some other links. And plus, I do put show prep on those sites also. So you can get knowledgeable. Reading the Chronicle helps. Going to my website helps. And just, if you can, go to these meetings, make a phone call. You can just be a leaf zooming down a river if you so incline, but it's your choice. And, we keep hearing of the complaints, taxes are going up or services are going down, or this gentleman who's a handicapped person who really does genuinely care. He's knowledgeable. He gets himself involved in TENS meetings, and he is ignored. Well, he wouldn't be ignored if he wasn't alone. If there were 10 people showing up, if there were 20 people, we're not talking hundreds, we're talking 10 or 20 people making phone calls. As the state representative said, well, no one, you're the first person ever to show up at any of my public town halls who didn't agree with me.
Right.
And you don't want to be shouting at anybody, as quite often the left does, but you do want to let them know that you very strongly disagree with how they're voting. And the same thing with the Republicans, because they go both ways also. I mentioned the website, which is EyeOnMuskegon.com, but you can also call me, and I do have this number handy, which is 231-421-4409. Give me a call. If I'm not there, just leave a message. You can check my website. For the show prep, one of the things I'm trying to do, and as you know, this show is a work in progress, but we are trying to put the show prep before and after on the website. So if you happen to hear something that sounded interesting to you, you've got a place to go. MichiganVotes.org. That's one word, MichiganVotes.org. Great site to go to get information about how your county, not county, I'm sorry, but your state representatives have voted. State reps and state senator. Very important information. And I do want to talk a little bit about next week. We will be here on Thanksgiving weekend. Next Sunday, November 27th, we'll be live and fighting to break through that political fog. Everyone knows that nothing goes better with politics better than money. The Occupy Wall Street folks say they represent the 99% who do their fair share. And it's that top 1% of the rich who simply are not pulling their weight. And our president even says he wants to make sure millionaires are taxed at higher rates than their secretary. So next week, EyeOnMuskegon will look at who is really paying their fair share. Stay tuned for Tom Sinaki's Polka Melodies. I hope you all have a great week in our little piece of heaven. Next week, we'll put the eye on you, Muskegon. And by the way, thank you again, Oscar, and all the folks at KBZ. We will see you next week, folks. Have a great Thanksgiving.
bottle up sometime.
A message from Orlando Bloom, Liam Neeson, Lawrence Fishburne, Salma Hayek, and Téa Leoni.
24,000 children die every day from preventable causes.
Like not getting enough food or medicine.
Or clean, safe water to drink.
But we are gaining ground. A generation ago, twice as many children were dying.
Still, 24,000 every day?
I believe.
I believe.
I believe that number should be zero.
Believe in zero.
Join the effort. Visit UNICEFUSA.org.
We've got all these credit card bills. We've got to find a way to get out from under this debt.
The National Foundation for Credit Counseling is a nonprofit organization that has been helping people for 60 years. Speak with a counselor at 800-388-2227 or visit debtadvice.org. This is a public service campaign for the NFCC.
The Talk of Muskegon is News Talk 1090, WKBZ Muskegon, and heard 24 hours a day on WOOD HD2 Muskegon. The Talk of Muskegon is News Talk 1090, WKBZ Muskegon, and heard 24 hours a day on WOOD HD2 Muskegon.
Good morning. Welcome to the Polka Melodies. I'm Tom Sanaki, right here on the Talk of Muskegon with the Polka Melodies. My goodness, it's Sunday, November 20th, 2011. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and that means it's polka time all the way until noon.